You know what are great? Plants. It's Tyler from ActiveBeat, and today I'm talking a bit about plants, which is a bit of a departure from what I usually talk about, which is health and nutrition. But over the weekend, I did a little bit of research on some plants and got my hands a little dirty. I wouldn't say that I have a green thumb. I definitely am kind of new to this. And but I thought I'd branch out. Sorry, pun. It was pretty good. And get into some more lifestyle stuff. So if you folks enjoy this, definitely let me know, and I'll do some more videos like this in the future. Awesome. So plants. Why am I talking about them? Well, I felt like I was kind of needed to spruce up my indoor situation a bit. So I did some gardening over the past weekend, indoor gardening. I did a little bit of outdoor stuff earlier this year, but I wanted to kind of just spruce up the indoor situation. The thing is, there's actually a lot of benefits to having plants hanging out around the house, and I want to talk about that today. I kind of always thought of plants as sort of simple indoor house decorations. And that's actually a really good reason to have them, or at least to start. For me, I started out with a really simple bamboo plant, and I think it looks awesome. It sits on my desk, doesn't need a lot of light or food or water. It's basically more self-sufficient than I am. But if you're living in an apartment, or maybe there's not a lot of green space around you, you might find that just having plants as a decoration are an excellent way to spruce up your living situation and do a couple things that you might not know in terms of benefiting your health and lifestyle in general. So here's the thing. Plants do photosynthesis, which you've probably heard of before, or maybe you studied it in school, and it's all about how plants eat, and it kind of has this great effect on recycling air. Basically, plants eat up carbon dioxide and they spit out oxygen. That's sort of the simplest level. I'm not going to get into it too much, but it's awesome. So a lot of people will advocate plants because it helps to recycle air. So as I went about getting my green thumb on, I did some reading about photosynthesis to see what the benefits were. And I read about this thing called sick building syndrome, which is kind of funny, but it makes sense to me at least. So there's this thing where in buildings that are so energy efficient, they don't really get a lot of fresh air from the outside world. Maybe if you're in an office or an apartment that doesn't have windows that open, it sounds terrible. It just turns out that sometimes you can have pollutants inside, which I didn't really think of before, and it was kind of surprising, but it's very possible. So there are buildings and they're so energy efficient that you're not really getting a lot of fresh air. And when plants come into the picture, it helps get rid of that stale air, and of course that chemical stuff you can't see, and make it better. In terms of the chemicals, it turns out there are things like formaldehyde or benzene in the air, and plants take care of that. Those pollutants can actually be found from things like insulation, rubbers, dyes, smoke, adhesives, and more. Sometimes it just comes off your furniture apparently, so definitely something to keep in mind. So what plants should you consider? Well, I notched up my plant game with some bamboo like I said, but I've had that for a while. So I also got some azaleas and chrysanthemums. Those are hard to say. But I don't really know how long this will last because I'm a little new to taking care of plants. So I feel like I've kind of taken on this responsibility in my life. Maybe I'll go check in on them after this. Anyways, one last thing that I found interesting. There's actually some debate as to whether or not it's actually safe to have plants in your bedroom. I know that sounds really strange because they're just plants, they're not gonna get you. But I didn't know this because apparently keeping plants in your bedroom during the day, it detoxifies and gets rid of CO2. But part of the photosynthesis cycle is that plants will often reverse, and so instead of emitting oxygen, they take in oxygen and burn that stored energy. So that sounds scary because you don't want to be breathing carbon dioxide at night. But does it really make sense? Well, if you go camping in a forest, you're not going to suffocate from carbon dioxide. So it should be fine, right? Unless your room is totally not well ventilated and you also have 200 plants. So you should be fine. And besides, the photosynthesis process, well, the plants eat molecules of carbon dioxide and release oxygen at a faster rate than the opposite, which is the respiration, which is carbon dioxide coming out. So there you have it. I've got a couple new green things kicking around at home, and I'm pretty excited about it. I'm not so sure if I'm going to be the best at taking care of them yet, but that's the process, right? You gotta learn sometime. It's kind of like having some new friends at home, right? You can talk to your plants. I haven't talked to them yet, but I might. Maybe they could use a little encouragement. Anyways, if you folks enjoyed this video and this new sort of lifestyle stuff, definitely let me know and we'll do some more topics. If you have suggestions, throw them in the comments and let me know. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.